Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Automate Your Success show. I got both Brandons in the mix today. Fellas, how are you?
What's up, Pat?
We're doing good.
Oh, just another beautiful day here in the great state of Texas. You guys are up there in the Wisconsin warehouse. No AC in that one, folks. No AC in that room.
Oh, and
It's
it's funny you mentioned that, Pat, because I just heard on the radio this morning. This is the month of June this year. I think was the highest mean, like average temperature for June in Wisconsin history.
Breaking records in the business and breaking records in the heat index. You got to love that. You got to love that. And that's what we wanted to talk about. You can't possibly break records in life and business or anything. We were talking about how you guys and I met through another friend who sends me business, and it's really helped me catapult my business to be around high performers in other areas that I can get people to serve in certain different categories that person's not really an expert in, like podcasting or media. But you guys are the fulfillment experts when it comes to automation. And again, we were talking again today about, I follow a lot of people. I hang out with a lot of speakers and coaches and mentors and, people who have built real estate empires and all this kind of stuff. And I think that what we're noticing now is a trend among successful business-minded people and entrepreneurs that they want a place to park their cash that's going to give them passive returns.
Right.
Once we start making money, we're looking at, okay, well, my tax liability is now going up. How can I either spend this money to make more money or park the cash in a vehicle that's going to give me returns that gives me a reduction on my overall taxes? And this is the stuff that no one wants to talk about because it's not pretty, because accounting is kind of the language of business. I run another podcast. I just do the editing for it. My friend Jonathan is a great accountant out there. And yes, I'm plugging him because he's phenomenal. But the moral of the story is numbers and accounting for your numbers. That is literally the language of business. And it's not really pretty. That's the math and science behind creating returns. And that's why people are looking at this automation thing and they're like, well, this looks great. I just throw my money into this van and it drives for me and poops out cash, but it's never really that easy. You still got to fill the gas tank and fix the tires and change the transmission and make sure the timing belt is fixed. I mean, I don't know that much about cars, but I could go down the line on a couple things that can nail you. And this is what we talk about on this show. It's not just holding up a folder and saying, you give me your money and I make you money.
Yeah, right.
Or
Like
show a spreadsheet,
It's not like we just take your money and we're like, okay, we're going to build you a store now.
There's a little to it.
There's a little bit more to it. There's a little bit that the client has to do in the initial part of these stores, but it's pretty simple stuff.
And so when we talk about getting started, and we've kind of covered this a little bit, but I want to recap for people who are watching, because a lot of these clips and a lot of these shows are going to be hitting the platform soon, and you're going to get a real inside look at what it actually takes to run an automation company compared to just being a customer or a client that runs a store within that company's services that they're providing people. And so that's why I wanted to show Brandon, and I did an episode where he's walking around the whole warehouse. That thing's going to be filled with boxes here in no time.
It's
already getting filled up.
And I cleaned it out. I put a lot of overtime in, and I got her back down to the basics, so I'm not too slammed there at the facility, but we're at the opportunity of hiring somebody at least part-time to handle that side. Well, nice. Hammer out some other things for the business. We want to keep growing as a company, and we can't have us doing the bottom feeder stuff. I wouldn't say bottom feeder, but the stuff where it takes manual labor. We got to start to eliminate that. That's why we're automating ourselves here in our own facilities.
Well, yeah, you just got to build systems and processes. But the good thing about you guys is you're not afraid to get your hands dirty and scrub the shit off the wall to get it to look nice for people. And I think that's the great thing about this is we don't sugarcoat stuff here. Making money is work, and there's blood, sweat, and tears involved. And if you're going to invest your money and park it with somebody, you want that person to shield you as much as possible from losses. And so you want to be able to trust and see that person's operation. And that's the cool thing about social media now. And we've talked about this a lot recently on a lot of calls and shows, is that there's a face with people's brands and companies now. It wasn't necessarily like that 10 or 15 years ago, unless you were like Justin Timberlake. But now there's a face to every single brand. Back in the day, you know, Ford Motors or Dodge or Chevrolet or whatever, you didn't really, there was no like Johnny Chevrolet unless it was like a local franchise. Now everyone knows Elon Musk runs Tesla.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone knows Jeff Bezos or Bezos, however you say his name, runs Amazon.
Right.
And so we know who these people are because we can follow them and follow their model for success. And I think that that's part of the thing that we're creating here is a real look into the back end of what it really takes to run an automation company. And I think that there's a difference between people who run operations and what the client is getting. We want to make sure that we're transparent about that. And so
if you're not
square one, building a business, this is building a business. You, like you said, you need an LLC and you need a certain amount of capital and you need a certain amount of credit. So let's do a quick review for people that are looking to launch a store on what that looks like.
Yeah, you know, you got to have an LLC, like you said. You know, you can't run this business with your name and social security number. You have to be a legit business, whether you're selling on Walmart or Amazon. You know, Amazon's a little bit more laxed in their requirements to the fact that, you know, if you get a Pulse and a credit card, they'll approve you. It sounds funny, but you need to still have an LLC, an EIN number, and a business bank account to become a seller on Amazon. But as long as you're a real person and you can, you know, show that documentation, they'll approve you with no questions asked. Amazon now, it usually takes a couple weeks from the time you apply till you're actually up and running because they must have encountered a lot of fraudulent accounts in the past. So what they do now is when you sign up, they send you a postcard in the mail to the address you registered to make sure you actually have a stake or, you know, a residence at that property or that address. And then on top of that, they actually schedule a video call where they're going to ask you to hold up your LLC articles of incorporation or your EIN document to show that this is a person, not a bot trying to create this account.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They rolled that out, the end of 2019. I had heard about people getting postcards, some people getting video calls, but from my understanding now, it sounds like everybody gets both. And it's obviously worked for them very well. You know, hopefully down the line that'll continue and they'll continue to innovate and, you know, make things better for everybody. Walmart, you know, again, you have to have a LLC, an EIN. They also want you to have a DUNS number. If you don't know what that is, you can go look it up at dnb.com. But you'll need that, you know, to show legitimacy, show you're a real business, show you're a company, because Walmart actually gives a shit who sells on their platform. So they do a little bit of due diligence, you know. They go make sure your LLC articles of incorporation is legit, that you have a DUNS number, your address and phone numbers need to all match. Because if any of those things don't match at all exactly, that can be a way for them to deny your application. You know, they only want to partner with the best and, you know, people that show previous e-com experience. So part of the initial setup of a Walmart store is we have to build this online profile about your business, make it look like you have previous e-com experience, because maybe you don't getting into this, but we need to make it look like you know what you're doing so that Walmart will approve your business to sell on their platform.
There you go, folks. I mean, that's the nuts and bolts. And like I said, I see it, great people, but I don't ever hear that anywhere other than right here on the show. And so I think it's important for people to know the nuts and bolts. I think it's always great to see the trophies and the rewards and the medals and stuff like that. And I just shared a quote from Tyson Fury. I'm a big boxing fan because it's a one-on-one sport. So you either win or you lose. I mean, there's nobody else. So you can't pass the ball. You can't blame the pitcher. You can't, you know what I mean, blame the quarterback or anybody. It's you against somebody else. Yep. And if you know the story of Tyson Fury, he was a world heavyweight champion and then retired from boxing and like was addicted to drugs and gained like 180 pounds and then lost all this weight and came back and fought this Deontay Wilder guy who's just an animal who had won like every fight by knockout and was winning all the way until the 12th round and was like brutally knocked down. And pretty much everyone was like, oh, okay, well, nobody ever gets up. Somehow the guy gets back up and then he knocked him out in the second fight. And so they're going to fight a third time. The point I'm making is he has a quote that he just said in a pre-fight interview of, listen, this other guy, he's a businessman. He cares about all the endorsements and all the belts and all this kind of stuff. Me, I'm a fucking Spartan. I show up to fight and knock people out.
Right.
Who do you think's going to win that fight, man? Who do you trust? I'd be really surprised if he lost because he's in it for the performance. All he cares about is the victory, the money and the rewards and the belt. Those are a byproduct of his excellent performance.
Right.
I think that so many times people focus on, oh, if I give this guy my money, he's going to make me a lot of money, instead of understanding the nuts and bolts that it takes to create a skillful performance that will produce those things anyway, become a magnet for success. If you understand the business that you're putting your money into and understand who you're working with and how it works and who you're dealing with, how much better of a return are you going to get on your investment than just throwing money at the dartboard?
Right. And well, setting the right expectation for us is really important because, a lot of people don't mention the fact that, you're not going to be rich in 6 months or a millionaire in a year because you get one automation store. It takes time. Just because you have $500,000 capital doesn't mean you're going to crush it the first month. Yeah, you're going to make some money. But, if you come into this with 500K versus a guy that's got 100, that doesn't mean your store is going to start out any faster. It takes time. We have to build your reputation, with these platforms. And as you build that reputation, they're going to give you more and more visibility, allowing your store to become more and more successful. But, the moral of the story is it doesn't just happen overnight. We have to do everything right and do all these things to get to that point.
Well, and I've noticed too, as someone who shops on there, now I start, when you're around people who do something and you start to kind of like think about it different. I do a lot of marketing for real estate people. So now I see a house while I'm traveling. I'm like, ooh, I wonder what it looked like to cash flow that bad boy. Instead of, man, that's probably an expensive house to own. It probably is. But what if I leverage someone's money and created a cash flow situation, this and that? You start to look at things differently. And what I'm getting at is like, I'm on Amazon now and I see store ratings now that are third parties. And it's like, sometimes I'll base my decision on who I'm going to order from based on what that store rating is.
Right.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And so like what he's saying is so true. And even again, from an outsider standpoint, as a consumer or as someone who uses the platform to order gear and stuff like that, it's like, I'm looking for what's the best deal on the gimbal that I can find from a relatable source that maybe gives me a better deal. Maybe it's $289 here compared to $389, but this third party seller has a coupon and 5-star ratings. There's 2,000 of them.
Right.
You've got to work your way up to get those ratings.
Right. It takes time.
That's what you're talking about.
Yep, exactly.
And
but
so
it's consumers, I think it's not overnight success always. It takes time. Doing all the
as consumers, we want everything now. So we don't necessarily look at that. And even as business people, if we're purchasing, something as a business owner, even if it's creating an entity, we're looking at, well, what am I going to get out of it? What am I going to get out of it? And it's like, well, what are you going to put into it to get the return? What knowledge do you have too? And that's why we wanted to make this that's as transparent and as real as possible. Because if you come out and you hang out with us in Scottsdale at Hi-Fi, like he has on his shirt, we're the same dudes that you see on the screen. We're not any different than we are right now. And so we want to make sure that transparency is hitting you from the get-go. Because there's a million options in this world, just like there's a million stores on Amazon. But who's going to rise to the top over the next 5 years?
Well, right. Like true. I tell all of our, potential clients, our clients, we're not the only people that offer this service. And so a lot of people say, well, what makes you guys different? A lot of things make us different. Number one, we make sure we set the right expectation, so that in 6 months, somebody's not pissed off. We do what we say we're going to do. And we give people the results we say we're going to say. Just because this business is passive doesn't mean it's perfect. So for the client, the most important decision that they can make is working with somebody that they can trust, that they can talk to. So if, an issue arises, they have the confidence that, these guys are going to know how to handle it, because there's too many people out there just selling a dream that are trying to fake it till they make it, posting pictures of their cars and their mansions. That's great. But have they done the work? Do they know what it takes, to relay all that information to the customer.
A lot
I
of
don't
them
think
aren't.
most do. I think,
No, they're sales guys.
everybody I talk to, I break it down in a way that's very understandable and, make people understand. And I think that's what really sets us apart and why people have such confidence in, running a store with us.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I think that transparency and that realness and that authenticity, that's what's trending more than anything right now. And I've been talking about that a lot. If I was an author, I'd write a book called Authenticity is Trending, because I really do think that over the next 3 to 5 years, the realness is going to be what people want, rather than the shiny object syndrome.
Right. They're going to get sick of seeing the bullshit. Just tell me the facts. Tell me what I need to know, and don't sugarcoat it.
Yep. Because more and more I see, even in my endeavors, is that the more real I am about stuff, the more gigs I get, the more people I work with, and the more they're successful too. It's incredible to see, because it requires you to get vulnerable and show things like Brandon at the warehouse, or, talk about how there's no AC in the office and you're sweating your ass off. But that's what it takes to build an operation. You guys aren't just doing this out of, the closet here and mail and returns back to the client's front porch. You're handling an entire operation. You're building an actual empire, as Elena Cardone would say. And so, 3 to 5 years from now, the guy that's standing is the guy that's willing to battle through the dust and take the scars and take the heat and all of that and turn it into a reward.
Yeah,
It's
we're not the guys out there that are, renting a $15,000 a month office to look nice on Instagram, not leaving any money to actually run the business. We're out here, we look at the cost of things. Does this make sense to rent another warehouse? Does it make sense to do this or that? So that, we are here for the long term.
When we make that decision, everything was pretty much paid. We had everything sitting in accounts where, hey, we have it. We're not worried. We got a year no matter what.
Yep.
We made those decisions on what type of finances we have sitting, not on what we're planning on projecting to make.
Right.
The projections are goal. We set those very high.
The big thing is, we're just not, we're not one of those companies that, spends all our money to go flash a lifestyle and hope that people buy, because if you do it like that, you're constantly on the edge. Either you're going to be bankrupt tomorrow or you're going to be successful another day.
Yeah.
Which is it going to be? As Brandon would say here, this is probably one of his favorite quotes is, we're not trying to be a fly by night company like a lot of these guys are.
Yeah, because that stuff fades.
That's who wrecks our industry. Those people put a bad name on it, and here we have to live up to fighting through it. Now you see all these people slamming it, and it's like, well, why would you slam? Were you involved? They tell you their horror story, and here we are fixing it.
Yep.
We've been down that road with a lot of clients.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And that's business. And I think it's important to remind people out there that, it's an investment, and business is a risky. I'd have to look up the definition of entrepreneur, but, here, I'll do it real quick.
Joe Biden doesn't change it on us. We find
the definition, a person who organizes and operates a business or business taking on greater than normal financial risks in order to do so. That's the definition of an entrepreneur.
Financial risk is the key term in there.
Yeah,
and this is just there.
That's what it takes. And anything is a risk. Using your time for this or your time for that or your money for this, all of those things are risks and sacrifices at the same time. And so that's why we try to keep it as real as possible here. If you're looking to launch a store, I think it's a great idea. And the more, even myself as a media company, the more we increase our revenue and our client base, I'm looking at, well, where am I going to park this cash?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, and the people out there that are looking for a solution, there's a lot of different places to go. But if you're looking for something that is continually growing at astounding rates, I mean, the online world is not going anywhere.
No, not at all.
No, for sure.
It's just going to continue to grow. I mean, I used to shop at Guitar Center often. 10, 15 years ago, it was the only place that you could get cables and, Rode mixing boards or microphones or whatever. I don't have to leave the house anymore.
I like this Rode mixing board.
If you've been watching the show, you notice my microphone magically changed.
We got the new one.
I got the new one from Amazon with the fet head and the whole thing. I didn't have to leave my house. I ordered this thing. On Father's Day in the morning. It showed up on Father's Day at like 9:30 at night.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It literally showed up the same day.
We're not that big a market to experience that, but that is pretty cool.
I was telling Brandon that on another episode. He's like, man, that's fast. I mean, in Dallas, I mean, they had it to me. Boom, boom, boom. It was there that night. I couldn't believe it. Next day, usually on stuff, but that one, boom. It was in my hands.
Just to get next day items. I'm like, yes, I'm getting.
I remember a couple years ago. You ever hear the website Zappos? You ever see?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
So I bought some shoes on there one time, like years ago on a Sunday night. Okay, like 6 p.m. I had those shoes by 10 a.m. the next day. I didn't realize that companies like that had the pull to ship stuff UPS on a Sunday.
It's crazy.
I was blown away. I thought that was like the greatest thing ever, but to have it the same day, I couldn't imagine.
If you know how UPS and FedEx work and the main terminals and where you're located and everything, that all varies.
What is your fucking? Did your camera die?
At Hilton Live, we lost you on my end.
Oh, did your camera die?
Yeah, something died.
That's fine. Everything we had up until that point's fine, so I can always just chop that part out.
It's getting better at that point.
I thought it was good the whole time. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Got more open. Got more comfortable.
That's okay. It's still good. Everything we talk about is good. So, but yeah, it's all good.
Try again. Something went wrong. Are we going to wrap something up, or are you just going to cut her?
I can cut it there. Everything we have up until there is great.
Oh, we're green again. We're good.
All right, here we go.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, I'll just cut that part out.
2, 1.
Yeah, right.
We killed one computer, and we brought it back to life. You know, that's a like 1% chance. And
we were crushing so hard, ladies and gentlemen, that the other computer died. We were talking about Zappos and you getting shoes like overnighted or something like that, and how quick they've gotten when I opened up stuff.
I was blown away by that.
And I kind of rolled into how UPS and FedEx, and if you're close to their terminals and you're a big warehousing facility like Amazon or anybody in the shipping industry, you want to be close to your main terminals so you can get it out to your smaller terminals the fastest.
And I think that's what happened with this microphone. It's a Shure microphone. I ordered it from the Shure store, like the official page on Amazon. And it's probably heavily ordered. I mean, you see these, I mean, you guys use Shure microphones. A lot of people do. There's a ton of different styles, but I'm sure that they're getting those out to people extremely quickly because of the volume of orders.
It's probably sitting as an FBA product. And when Shure sends them in, it gets distributed amongst Amazon's warehouse instead of just sitting in one central location, they'll send it out to all their main large ones.
Right.
And then it'll get distributed again.
So there's FBA, break that down for people that don't know what that means.
Well, FBA is fulfillment by Amazon, where you can send the products you're selling directly into Amazon's warehouses. And then they take care of the packaging and the shipping for you. There's a lot of people that are really successful doing that. You can be really successful doing that.
Very risky.
You have that risk though of, doing your product research, getting it ready, waiting for your shipment, getting it palletized or however you need to send it into Amazon. Well, what a lot of people don't realize is, let's say you bought $30,000 worth of some product, say these microphones. Okay.
Yep.
You send it in, and by the time they're sent in, maybe you missed maybe it's not a hot selling item anymore. Okay. So now you got all this inventory sitting there. If it doesn't sell, okay, Amazon charges you warehousing fees if it doesn't sell quick enough. Then the next guy may have came along and bought 50 grand worth of these mics. So now he got a price break that you can't even break even on to sell your product. So now in order to move your product, you got to sell it at a loss. Otherwise, your other options paying Amazon warehousing fees. So you can get stuck like that sitting on inventory if you're not careful. We don't do FBA. That's not what we specialize in currently. We've, by running automation stores, we know what the hot categories are. We know what items sell really well all the time, and you just can't keep them in stock. And we've reached out to some of these companies to build real relationships with them and get these products at wholesale or, direct to basically increase the bottom line of our clients' stores. The problem is a lot of these companies themselves sell on the platform. So if Clorox, for example, let's say you're trying to sell some cleaning product. If Clorox sells their product on Amazon and now you try to sell on there, your competition to Clorox, and so they try to eliminate people like that from selling on the platform, because if they can sell it direct to consumer, they eliminate that middleman that they got to wholesale it to. So now Clorox makes the full margin on every product they sell, versus if they sell it to a guy like us, now they sold it at wholesale, they got reduced margin, and then they got to compete with me on top of it on Amazon. They don't like that. So, that a lot of those companies won't even sell to you directly if you're planning on selling on a third-party platform. So the way you buy some of this product is you got to find a distributor or a wholesaler that's willing to basically put their relationship with that company at risk by selling you products out the back door at a reduced rate, and that's how you sell on the platform. But if you try to do that, these relationships with Amazon or Walmart, where they can say, hey, we want you to check, where this company is getting those products from. And if you can't produce, the documents that you got it directly from the company, guess what? You ain't selling that product. They won't allow you to do it.
Interesting.
Yeah, because one of our long-term goals was, hey, down the line, let's build our own warehouse and ship and control this from our own warehouses, right? Buy the shipping at a reduced rate through Amazon or Walmart, and do that. The problem is sourcing the product. I mean, we've offered to buy 6-7 figures worth of product from companies because we know it sells well. And one of the first things they ask is, where do you plan on selling it? If it's Amazon or Walmart, we will not sell to you.
You think about it, it's kind of like approaching people. What do you have to offer? Other than you can buy a ton from us, you don't have a storefront for our product to sit in. We already have access to these third-party selling platforms, so they really lose interest in you quick. Maybe you have a warehouse and a location. They don't have a warehouse. That'd be their only benefit you'd gain. It's a tough deal how you got to look at it a few different ways and why they would say no and why they would say yes.
Right. Well, and one of the other things that we've looked at doing, and this might be possible in the future, is in addition to the service we already offer, is offering a service to existing brands that maybe don't want to handle the third-party sales. So what we've talked about doing is offering a service where, these brands or these companies send their product to us for us to warehouse. And then when orders, come in for their company's products on Amazon or Walmart, we fulfill them for that company. So that's another service we're looking into getting into as well.
That's awesome, because what I'm noticing here is a trend of you guys figuring out the solutions that people need within this industry and fulfilling all of these different areas that are associated with how you need to run your success and in this automation style business. And so I see that being something that you guys become industry leaders more and more over the next few months, next few years. Is, listen, I mean, even if you have a store with somebody else, you can use us for this, and this. We work with everybody. And I think that's the name of the game to becoming a collaborative competitor, is that, I mean, we compete with some of these industry leaders, but they also leverage us in this way and in this way and in this way. And all that's going to do is build your business.
Behind closed doors, there's collaboration type stuff going on. Nobody will ever talk about it. I'm not
Right.
going to name any names. I mean, we talk to other people in this automation space, all the time on a pretty regular basis. And we say, hey, have you encountered this yet? They ask us if we've encountered certain things. And we bounce those ideas off each other so that we can both get better. Like I tell some of these people that I talk to from other services, at the end of the day, everybody thinks their way is so special and that they run this business like they're going to have every consumer, they're going to have every client that's possible for this business. When the reality is everybody doing this is different. Everybody's going to appeal to a different type of person. We don't all appeal to the same client base at the end of the day, and by running, like I said before, we do these returns for automation clients that aren't even our clients, but we offer the warehousing ability to handle their returns for them. I haven't seen one person that has any store that's doing anything special from everybody else. Plain and simple. You won't hear anybody else say that, but I'll tell you, ain't nobody got any special secret sauce on anybody.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one thing that I've really been hammering on lately is there's no secret sauce to success, or everybody would spread it on their toast in the morning.
Doing the work. That's the secret sauce.
Or getting the best employees to do the work or find the there's so many things. It still comes down to a person having to do it. There's no perfect software out there. There's no perfect anything. It's true labor search the hard way.
Right.
To find the best items.
Exactly.
And that's what you were talking about, even with the warehouse. It's like you've got to figure out what that job looks like before you can even outsource it. If you don't know how to do it yourself, how are you going to teach anybody else how to do it?
And I remember the first day I started doing the warehousing and we were receiving stuff, and I'm like, man, this takes quite a bit of time. Now you fly through the stuff so quick. It's like, yes, we kept evolving and changing the process to make it so much faster. Originally, we hand typed everything. Now we have barcode scanners and this and that. And it's like things you would, hey, we got to make it faster. It's about dime a dollar, and
a lot of people too, they'll, say, what's the risk in this business, things like that. And, with suspensions being a real thing, I don't remember where I was going with that, Pat.
Suspension.
You're good.
I was talking about
all teams face it no matter what.
A lot of people talk about, suspensions and, things not being perfect in this industry. Yeah. It's a business. It's a real business. There's going to be real business problems from time to time.
You start a
people not getting their products, stuff getting shipped wrong. But guess what? Is real estate perfect? You might have tenants that don't pay their invoice or pay their rent, right? You might have a stock market, have stocks or crypto that goes down. You got to understand that that's going to happen and you're going to have waves. Just because it's passive doesn't mean it always goes up. There's going to be, dips and valleys along the way. So what I'm getting at is, there's other ways to make income, but, none of these ways are 100% perfect 100% of the time.
Hey, we always look back and say, oh man, if I would have threw this money into that, that's because you're looking back. You're not looking forward at that time. You're like, I lost out on it because I didn't do it at the time. Well, no shit. Like, what do you expect? Like, if you look back, yeah, it's easy to look at history. Going forward is the hard stuff.
Yeah, right. And being an innovator, and that's exactly why we're putting this stuff out there now. We're making the show available for people here soon, and eventually here shortly we're going to have a community where we stream this show into a private group. And if you're a client of theirs or a potential client, or you just want to learn the business and ask people questions, you're going to have the ability to do that by being a subscriber to our community. And I don't see anyone else in this industry doing that either. We're creating a foundation of content here. We're making it available for free to people so that they can send and ask questions or potentially get on a call with you guys. And we want to build that bridge of communication because the internet is so important to get communication out there. And another thing is, Brandon and I were laughing about this. I mean, it would be really easy for me, especially being a media company with contacts, to just enhance our following on Instagram or Facebook in a fake way. It's it'd be really easy for me. But we're focusing on putting out really great content. And, if we join some some groups and some engagement groups in the future. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. That's great. But our goal is not to like have millions of views on this. Our goal is to dial in and create a community of people that actually want to be successful. Views and all that stuff is cute and it's fun. But at the same time, what's up?
Kind of like a podcast mastermind.
Pat always wanted to be a meme, like one of those guys that just gets slammed on a meme, but I don't really want to see him go down that path. You know, it's like a dark hole.
Yeah, it's all good. But my point is, it's funny how people who build real communities and real trust, they don't care about that. Like I was saying, we show up to fight. We show up to execute every single day. I wouldn't want to be the guy that has to go up against Tyson Fury next month because he doesn't care about anything other than winning.
Yeah, if you put a guru up against one of us, we'd probably rip them apart.
They get shredded. And that's what's happened to me over the last 3 or 4 years.
You guys, yeah.
I just rip into them. I tell them how it is. And they'd be like,
it's true.
I said, well, yeah, take your hand out of your, and tell me what's going on here because you're not doing the damn work.
Right. And that's the same thing that has gotten me on stages with top guys. And I've been able to kind of filter through who's real and who's not and get to some of those benchmark positions of hosting events with some of the best revenue generating people that run actual businesses is by sticking to my guns and just being good at what I do.
And those guys have already seen all the shit. They'll tear apart anybody. If you're going to be at a real estate event and you're a fake one, they're going to rip your shit apart.
Yeah, they're going to know.
What have you done? Oh, I sold one deal and I'm a guru. You ain't shit, One deal. What the fucking deal?
I want to see a quote put out later on our Instagram that says, if you ain't a guru, about the guru, you ain't shit. I want to see.
If you've done one deal, you ain't shit. Nick, you're going to have to make sure that one shows up on the page like tomorrow.
You think about it. I watch a lot of podcasts and I watch it all and I see a lot of different people's and how they view stuff. And I take everything in. I'm not a person and not inhale information I can. And man, the gurus get ripped apart.
They do. And because it's more visible now. And that's why we're doing it this way right off the bat. Because it's just like it can only go up from here for us, talking about not only just stores, but just success in general. And when we start bringing on guests and we start layering this thing out and interviewing people and talking to them about how they built their stores and built out their products and this and that and the other thing, all it's going to do is bring more eyeballs to the fact that we kept it real since day one. We gave you the information that you needed. Whether you work with any of us or not, doesn't matter. You got the information that you needed to be successful. That's the whole point of the show. And we're going to get it. We're going to win anyway.
And one thing I've learned in the last few years, the only thing a guru can sell is a course. They always sell a course on how to do something because they didn't fucking make it in the space.
It's true. A lot of times that's true. And the people that are willing to just go out and speak and show you their deals and show you their team members or walk you through the office. Those are the people that I've become a magnet for because they love having a guy like me up there that talks the same shit on the stage before they even come on. Listen, if you're looking to actually do deals, you're in the right room. If you're out there dicking around with, Johnny Billy Bob, the real estate guy, I don't know that you're necessarily going to get any results. And it's also at the point too, where if you don't have 5 or 10 minutes to vet whether somebody's real deal or not, then a lot of it is on the consumer at that point too. Like we talked about, if I go to the Amazon store and I order this microphone from Johnny Bozo with 1 star, whose fault is it that I didn't get it for 2 weeks and lost my $300?
Johnny Bozo had to buy it from 3 other people to get it to you.
Johnny Bozo stole my money, dude. It took me 2 minutes to realize who I needed to get it from. So you've also got to do your due diligence, folks, and do a little bit of research before you spend your money. And that's another reason why we're making sure that we put this out there and give it to you real and raw, because that's what you need.
Yeah, a lot of guys always posting screenshots. I don't know. You see my stories, Pat. I post
you do it a little bit on your stories. Yeah.
Live accounts, refreshing them so people can see that the numbers are real. It ain't just some bullshit.
I know you're just sitting at home, Pat, waiting for us to post. Like, what are these guys got on their back page today?
Well, I also like the fact that you also explain, hey, this person started with us 2 months ago. Here was the first month. It kind of went up. It took a little ever, and then it jumped real high. I mean, they got hot here for a minute. This is what we're doing for our clients, and it's
Right.
it's transparent because it's not like it just took off and went 8 million miles an hour on day 6.
Right.
It took some time to kind of get some
That's not
orders, and then they had a peak, and that's great.
We had one hit like
Oh.
200,000 in the first month, and we're like, oh boy, we got a monster on our hands.
yeah.
That's good.
Jason. But then we've had the other ones where you're just like, this is nice. This is something they can build their credit. This is their first store. We know where they're at. This is perfect for them,
Yep.
We've been on both trains.
Yeah, and that's part of the game. That's part of learning too, is that you want somebody who can show you, hey, this is doing well, but here's how we're going to increase revenue, or here's some products we want to cut. We want to insert at this time of the year. Like you said, going into the holidays this year, there's no way that Amazon's not going to have the greatest year ever in the history of Amazon, because like we've talked about, not only was the COVID a huge rush for them, it was like a gold rush to online. But number two, it's like we're coming into the holiday season and people are starting to see the value in their time. And it's more valuable to have a Prime account and be able to order on Amazon than it is for me to leave the studio and leave the calls and do this, drive 40 minutes to Guitar Center and buy the same thing that I can get shipped to my house at 9 p.m.
Right.
But that's the simple stuff. Don't get me wrong. Guitar Center still needs to be around to go play your guitar and see which one you really want to buy.
Guitar Center is great.
But they can drop the cables and all the little stuff. You got to keep it. But, a lot of that stuff's getting bought off Amazon now, or Walmart or Best Buy, wherever you're buying them products. But I'm going to say you're still going to want Guitar Center around when you want to test out that new Gibson,
Well, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it per se, but I'm saying that I think for nuts and bolts studio equipment, getting online, even if you use Guitar Center as your vendor, I think that Guitar Center as a vendor on Amazon or Musician's Friend or whatever the best option is, I mean, they're still on there. But I think that the platform itself, even if I still buy it from them, going to a retail store is just so much more time and so much more work.
As long as they don't end up like Blockbuster, we'll be fine.
There you go. It's a beautiful thing. So closing out, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get started with your Amazon or Walmart automation, or if you just have questions, or if you just want to be in a community of people that are like-minded entrepreneurs that are, positioning themselves for success, this is a great time to join and get linked up with us, because it's only up from here. We're just laying the foundation right now, but long term, we expect to be having our own events and our own groups and our own conversations and our own speakers and our own guests on this platform. And it's going to be really neat to give you an insight and a transparent look at how people built their businesses, how they built success, how they developed products, and ultimately how they used their cash to park it in a vehicle that provided them with returns. And so that's the name of the game here on Automate Your Success. Brandon, always a pleasure as usual, my friends.
See ya, Pat.
Thanks, Pat, for having us.
We'll see you guys in a little bit.
Okay.
All right. See ya.